If you ever watched the Pokémon anime, specifically the Pokémon Black and White series, you'd know that this little baby Axew was the most annoying and worthless little to exist. But here's the story of how this dumb, annoying, stupid crybaby Axew turned into an absolute unit that went on to rival the strongest Pokémon in the Masters 8. This is Iris, and this is Axew. These two met in the Village of Dragons, where Iris decided to take him along on her journey to becoming a Pokémon Master. But little did Iris know, this Axew was straight garbage. He would constantly get overpowered and captured, and he even lost a battle to Sealand's Pansage of all Pokémon. One day, Ash was about to hatch an egg, and Axew was excited to have a little brother. But little did he know this egg was going to hatch into this little menace of a Scraggy and start a fierce rivalry between the two of them, and Scraggy would indirectly push Axew to become way stronger. That's because when these two faced off for the first ever time, Axew wasn't being a little wussy and decided to battle his hardest to prove himself against Scraggy. Their battle was pretty evenly matched, as they both landed pretty solid blows on each other, until eventually the match ended in a draw with them both getting knocked out. After this battle, Axew realized that he's actually pretty tough, so he began his training arc to become as strong as possible so that he could win against his rival, Scraggy. When it was finally time for their rematch, it seemed like Axew was completely locked in, but that couldn't be further from the truth. Their battle was absolutely pathetic, and it was like watching two trash cans try to hurt each other. Axew decided it was time to put his training to the test and try out his Dragon Rage attack, but this dumbass accidentally ate it, which caused the battle to stop, leaving the match in another tie. However, third time's the charm. As Scraggy and Axew had their third and final rematch, Axew managed to master Dragon Rage and defeated his longtime rival once and for all. After managing to finally master Dragon Rage, Axew was now way ahead of Scraggy in terms of strength, which means Iris was now one step closer to becoming the champion. But Axew still had his work cut out for him, and that's because he had plenty more battles and plenty more losses. He got spooked and frozen by this ice cream Pokemon, and worst of all, he fell off a rock and knocked himself out. Although he did manage to defeat Golett by using his new move Outrage, which was pretty badass to be honest. And he also stalled the legendary weather Pokemon with his trusty Dragon Rage. But now it was time for Axew's toughest battle of his entire life against Cynthia's Garchomp. Iris starts off the match by ordering Axew to use Scratch, which is a move with a base power of only 40 by the way, which obviously does a total of 0 damage to this absolute unit. Axew decides to charge up one of his Dragon Rages. He fires it off with all of his might, and when the smoke clears, Garchomp is completely unbothered. This spooks the crap out of Iris and Axew because that was one of their most powerful attacks. Garchomp goes on to the aggressive and knocks Axew onto his ass. He then follows up with a crazy Draco Meteor, and the meteor shower completely overwhelms this poor little Axew, who is clearly out of his depths in this fight. But Axew is no quitter. He forces himself to get off the ground and stares back into the camera like a superhero. He then absolutely locks in, teaches himself Giga Impact on the spot, and then smashes into Garchomp at full speed, flattening this titan onto the ground. Quick fun fact, but this was the first time that Cynthia's Garchomp was actually knocked off his feet in the anime. Garchomp had enough of playing around and decided to put an end to this battle by traumatizing this poor little Axew, but it's safe to say that our little green dragon performed a lot better than we expected. In the rest of the Black and White series, Axew didn't really do anything else notable, which takes us on to his incredible transformation in Pokémon Journeys, when Iris returned after not being in the anime for 9 whole years. It turns out that she became the Unova champion off-screen with her overpowered team and her ace Haxorus. But that wasn't enough for Iris because she wanted to become the greatest Pokemon master of the world. So she decided to enter the Masters 8 Pokemon tournament to face off against the 8 strongest Pokemon trainers around the world. But just before we get into that, Ash and Iris reunite in episode 65 of Pokémon Journeys. Just before Ash and Iris qualify for the Masters 8, they decide to have a 2-on-2 battle. Iris chooses her 2 strongest Pokemon, Haxorus and Dragonite, whereas Ash opts for his Dragonite and Draco Vish. As the battle gets underway, Ash sends out his Dragonite, and Iris also sends out her Dragonite for a Dragonite mirror match 1v1. These two get straight down to business and start duking it out as if their lives depended on it. They pretty much went blow for a little while, but it seemed like Iris's Dragonite had the advantage. So Ash called back his Dragonite so that he could rest up for a while inside of his Pokeball. Next up, Ash decides to send out his goofy Dracovish. This unserious dude is a lot stronger than you might think, because he charges up to Dragonite, grips him in his mouth, toys with him a little, and then finishes him off with a powerful Ice Fang. And now it's finally time for us to see just how strong our little dude has become while he was training off screen, because Iris next decides to send out Haxorus. At this point, he's not even comparable to his old self, and that's because this beast starts off the match by sending off a mean Dragon Rage, which has Dracovish looking like a drunk alcoholic uncle. Haxorus takes advantage of the commotion and follows up with Psycho Cut, which ends up knocking out Dracovish in record time. Ash is then forced to send out Dragonite, but Haxorus is just on a completely different level. He powers up and proceeds to catch Dragonite in midair. He then pummels Dragonite with Outrage, which leaves Dragonite looking helpless. If you know anything about the move Outrage, which Haxorus just used, it has one drawback which leaves the user confused. However, this drawback doesn't apply to Haxorus because he smashes his head into the ground, which for some reason gets rid of his confusion. The two dragons get straight back to boxing, and Haxorus hits Dragonite with a powerful attack that pushes her back. Haxorus fires off yet another Psycho Cut. However, Dragonite manages to negate his attack by spinning around like a freaking Beyblade. Haxorus has had enough, so he proceeds to blast a full-powered Dragon Rage straight into Dragonite's air bubble tornado thing, and this manages to cause an even bigger tornado, which engulfs the entire battlefield. While Dragonite hides in the mist, he summons a Draco Meteor, which comes crashing down on Haxorus, who didn't expect that at all, and since he got caught off guard, this resulted in Haxorus unfortunately taking the L. However, Haxorus would still get another chance to redeem himself, and that's because when Iris qualified for the Masters 8 Pokémon tournament, she faced off against Cynthia in the first round of the tournament, which means Haxorus would get a chance to get revenge on Garchomp for what he did to him when he was just a little baby. The match was a 3-on-3 battle, with Iris choosing Excadrill, Dragonite, and Haxorus, where Cynthia decided to choose Gastrodon, Milotic, and her ace Garchomp. At the battle's start, Excadrill fought Gastrodon and managed to take the dub, until Cynthia sent out her Milotic, who made quick work out of Excadrill and defeated him with her Hydro Pump attack. Now that the score is 1-1, Cynthia takes the lead by defeating Dragonite with her Milotic, which leaves it all down to Haxorus to pull off the 1v2. Haxorus gets straight to work and gives this overgrown fish the beating of a lifetime by knocking her out with ease. Now it's time for the match we've all been waiting for. Garchomp enters the battle like a freaking F-15 fighter jet, and the two dragons give each other a classic stare down. Garchomp starts the battle with a Draco Meteor, but Haxorus learned from his last match, and this time he's ready. He fights through the Draco Meteor by using Outrage, and he uses that momentum to face off against Garchomp head-on for a clash of the Titans. Haxorus gets confused because he used the move Outrage, but this madman sinks his head into the ground again, and now he's completely fine. But he won't be for long because Cynthia pulled out her lip gloss, which is actually just her Mega Evolution Stone for Garchomp. She proceeds to Mega Evolve her Garchomp, and now this battle is pretty much over for Haxorus. Garchomp uses Draco Meteor once more, and there's simply nothing else he could do to win this fight, because as the smoke clears, Haxorus is unfortunately the one laid out on the ground yet again, which leaves Garchomp with another victory over him. But he's still pretty cool in my books.